Hello and welcome to the Northern Rose podcast or YouTube, depending on how you're watching or listening to this. And this is a very special episode for two reasons. Firstly, because of our guests from Someone I Knew. And secondly, because we're recording from the World Transformed Festival, who have very kindly provided us a room to record from. So big thanks to them. And as part of the festival, we interviewed Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn yesterday. So if you've not seen that video, go and check it out on our YouTube. Someone I Knew is a campaign founded through grassroots by a collective of women who want to challenge and stand up to the weaponisation of gender-based violence to target trans people and refugees. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves a bit and why have you started this campaign?
Do you want me to start? Yeah, so I'm Adele. I am a feminist, first and foremost. I am also a campaigner for Intersectional Uprising, which is a women's rights movement. And then Manchester lead for them. So I've been doing activism for a good 12 months nearly, and we've been doing things for women's rights anyway. As part of that, we got invited down to the We Demand Change Summit, and that's how I met Dinah.
Hi, I'm Dinah. I've been campaigning in the mental health scene for a really, really long time. And then more recently, I think with everything going on, I've noticed that the conversations that we're having, whether you're in mental health activism, you're in feminist activism, you're anti-racism activism, workers' rights, is all part of the same conversation. So this has felt like a very, also personally because I've experienced sexual violence in my life, it felt like a very natural sort of segue into uniting feminism, mental health, gender-based violence, activism with the sort of wider conversation. And a really, really good opportunity to sort of use our experiences, amplify our voices to combat the sort of far right, just hate-filled narrative against refugees and trans people. We, like Adele said, we met at this We Demand Change Summit of Resistance last month and got talking, and then our co-founder Milena suggested that we needed a hashtag similar to Me Too and BLM that can really sort of amplify our experiences of sexual violence, domestic violence, but specifically to counter far-right narratives. So yeah, here we are, the Someone I Knew campaign was born, and yeah.
And it's been busy ever since.
It's been very busy.
But in a really fantastic way. It started with a conversation. It was just three people that didn't know each other. Before that, we were in a panel event for Why is the Far Right Obsessed with Gender? And that got people talking. We split off into groups, and we were saying, how can we bring intersectionality into the fight? How can we, link that into everything else that's going on in the world as well? And Milena came up with the idea of the hashtag and was like, that's actually a really clever idea, because we know that the Me Too movement was huge. And it really, what was it, 2012? What? 2008? It was around...
Yeah.
So it's a long time ago now. It feels like it was yesterday because I'm old. But it was a long time ago now, technically. And it went huge, and it really highlighted how women are still, suffering. We still need to fight for women's rights, and we still need to have feminism even in the modern day world. It's not like it was when they were fighting for votes anymore, but it's still not the same as it is everywhere else. But then also alongside that, we know that the narrative that's being pushed by the media and the politicians, it's always minority groups that are to blame for women's safety, and that's just not true. Trans people and migrants and refugees are not the reason that women's safety is an issue. It's generally between 85 to 90% of people that have had some sort of sexual violence attack have said they knew their attacker, they knew the person that did it, and that's where the campaign came from. We went through a few different names, didn't we? And we were like, what can we call it? It needs to resonate with people. It needs to be something that can, be catchy and hits home. And that's where it came from. And was like, it's always someone they knew. It's always somebody that you knew. It's obviously not always, but the majority of the time. So if we start highlighting that, it then also highlights that it's not trans people and it's not migrants and it's not refugees, and it will start to disrupt that narrative that's being pushed. And that's the main aim of everything, isn't it? Let's stop the politicians and the media, because the more they push the wrong narratives, the more that our safety is not being championed and not being worked for, and also the more that minority groups are being victimised and they're being, you know, targeted and villainised. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think even from the very get-go, we've been very sort of collaborative, and we've really wanted to include as many different people in the conversation. And when we were current with the name, you know, we put it out into a poll, and I think that's what we are really excited to be doing, where it's like, you know, okay, if we want to build a viral moment, which is what we are working towards, but that's going to take a lot of building of the campaign. It's going to take a lot of growth. It's going to take like a lot of, you know, getting a lot of people to know about it and willing to then share their stories on the back of it, which is then the additional challenge. Obviously some people aren't safe to do so, but then beyond eventually working up to this viral moment where we can sort of like take over social media, it's like building a wider movement around it as well. And I think that's what is going really well at the moment, and we're sort of like being very intersectional. We're connecting with a lot of different organisations, like migrants' rights organisations, trans rights organisations, and individual campaigners as well.
Domestic violence charities and things like that as well have reached out, and it's been a bit crazy, but in a really positive way.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, isn't it?
It's a good problem to have, a really good problem to have.
Yeah. So, I know you guys have said that you've been really busy, like getting this off the ground. So, for someone who might not be aware with kind of how these grassroots organisations works, like what does that look like to you? Like, how do you go about like getting in contact with people?
It's very much from the ground up, and I think I think we've always known it, but I think recently the sort of like the working classes and people who are active on the left in the working class are becoming very like aware of is that any change, anything we've ever won, any rights we've ever won has come in the vast majority of cases, it's come from the ground up. And, you know, it's people getting involved in their communities, reaching out, finding out what's going on, going to these things like the Summit of Resistance, networking with other people.
Going to the Transformed Festival.
Yeah.
Going to, like we were saying earlier, we're going to Love Music Hate Racism later. We go to quite a lot of protests. Generally, like actually like starting it from scratch, it's a lot. Like it's not the easiest thing to do, but you've got to just persevere. We were quite lucky because we've got links with other activists and other groups already, but I'd say whenever it was 12 months ago when I started campaigning with Intersectional Uprising, I didn't know anybody. I'd not been in the activism scene before. It was brand new to me, and I didn't have any contacts or links. So it was a case of researching, looking people up, finding things online, getting in touch with local unions, getting in touch with local charities, getting in touch with big charities as well. Social media, obviously our campaign is a social media campaign, so we're pushing as much as we can because hashtags are social media. But social media as well, like getting on Instagram, getting on TikTok, getting on Facebook, anything and everything. Blue Sky now as well.
Yeah, we're on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Slowly growing.
Slowly getting there. And obviously people are starting to diverge from what was formerly known as Twitter. I won't call it. Not to dead name a social media, but at the same time, it's difficult to say X, isn't it? Because nobody knows what you're talking about sometimes. I literally had to start from the beginning and do loads of research. I think I was sending like 300 emails a day at one point, and to like businesses and like even normal businesses like builders and, you know, schools and bus companies and transport people, because as part of like Intersectional Uprising we do marches and I had no equipment. So what's intersectional uprising? So Intersectional Uprising is a women's rights organisation. It's UK wide. We've got city leads in 26 cities now, I want to say. Might be 28. I can never remember. There's so many.
It will be on the website.
Well, no, because I built the website. No, so it is on the website, but it's also not because I built the website, and some of the people that have joined recently, so they've not been updated yet because they've not made the social medias and things like that can link onto the website, because that's one of the things I did do, was make sure that all the socials links for every city was on there. So if I have not got links for them, they're unfortunately not on the website yet, but they will be as soon as they get them links over. And I'm updating it as frequently as I can. But that launched 2 weeks ago, was it? The website?
That sounds right.
So
the time is a blur. Time is a concept, a mere concept at the moment.
Yeah, so the website was brand new because we were previously UK Women's March, and we rebranded over the summer. So the website was brand new and had to be relaunched, and we had to change everything, rebrand, send everything out again. So that's part of it. But then because we had built things from like January onwards in like UK Women's March, we carried on them social medias, we carried on them same networks and things. So yeah, I was quite lucky in that sense. But when I first started at Manchester Lead, didn't know anything, didn't know anybody. So I just started getting in touch with people and like emailing people. And Unison were really good when I reached out to them. Unison have got a lot of different committees within their branches in Manchester. So they've got like a women's committee, they've got a LGBTQ plus committee as well, and they were really helpful to get in touch with. And then obviously, as part of being in Intersectional Uprising, that's how we got involved with We Demand Change, and then I met Alison as well through that, and then it's just took off from there, hasn't it? So we've got them links from there in when we started the Someone I Knew campaign, which helped massively, because if I wouldn't have, done that 6 months ago, 12 months ago, I would have probably would have been a bit stuck, wouldn't we? But that's how it came about, is that activists were getting together and try to, create more unity and create more intersectionality across movements, and how can we do this and also keep it accessible, because that's one of the main things that we kept bringing. Everyone brings it up all the time, like how do you keep it accessible? And I know that like Stand Up to Racism do a lot of different things. That's not just protests and unity rallies. They do like community events and coffee mornings and music events, things like that. And that's what we want to try and do, is create that accessibility as well, because not everybody can go to a protest or a march. Not everybody feels comfortable with it. Never mind, like, on top of that, maybe accessibility issues.
Well, they can be quite intimidating, can't they?
Yeah, and there's a lot of stigma.
Yeah, especially now when we've talked about it a little bit on our YouTube videos, how people are able to monetize hate. So people on the right will go with their cameras and try and live stream a reaction just to get something out of someone, and it's strange, like a horrible thing.
It's awful. Like they're literally making money on humanity, and it's just you get scared to walk outside. Never mind anything protest wise, and like we go to all of as many protests as we can, and events, rallies, and things like that. But I completely understand, like when you speak to your friends and your family. Not all of my friends and family are activists. Like they don't want to go to protests. They're a bit worried. Like even when I'm organising marches for Intersectional Uprising, they're a bit worried about coming to them, because we get all the YouTube people coming down too, and not saying they're all YouTubers, but we know that there is a lot of them with cameras and GoPros, and they're coming down and antagonising people, and it's linked quite well into what we do, in that sense of what they're doing is very much the same tactics that an abusive partner would take, where it's like emotional manipulation. They're goading you and antagonising you and pushing you until you react, because that's what an abusive partner does a lot of the time. Like, not all of them, but a lot of the time they'll push and push and push until you react, because then they're the victim. And that's exactly what a lot of the people with the cameras are doing. And that's not helping women's safety or women's rights or anything for gender-based violence at all. That's actually reiterating that it's okay to treat people that way, and reiterating to boys and people that are not always boys, but people that are watching their YouTube channels, that it's okay to goad people and push people, especially when they're turning up to women's rights marches, to do it too. It's not just like the Stand Up to Racism marches or anything like that. They're turning up everywhere. They've come to women's rights marches, the trans rights marches, and they're doing it to anybody and everybody, purposely to monetize humanity. And it's a lack of empathy and a lack of accountability for what they're actually doing. It's stressful, it's worrying, and it's feeding into the manosphere.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we're looking at the moment as well. So we had our especially actually in terms of accessibility, we had the launch event, but it was an online launch event, so it enabled everybody from wherever you are, and also depending on your comfort levels as well, because what we want to do is, you know, it's amazing and it's edifying to have conversations with people on the left because we all believe in the same thing, but I think what we really, really want to do is try and reach people who aren't necessarily on the left or aren't politically active at all. And it's sort of like, it's less of an intimidating thing to go to a Zoom call where you can sit back, you can put your camera off. You know, we did ask if they could keep their camera on for the first 5 minutes just so we could make sure, you know.
Yeah, safety
yeah, because there have been instances of the far right popping up on calls and, you know, just causing havoc.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we said, you know, just keep your camera off if you feel more comfortable doing that. And it's just a really like safe, comfortable way to get involved and find out more, connect with other survivors. But then on the back of that, I had 2 male friends who attended, cis male friends, cishet male friends, and the conversations with them after were really, really helpful because they, number one, it was incredible because they got a lot from the campaign, the launch call, and they were just, it was just lovely because they, you know, they were listening with an open mind and an open heart, and a lot of them said to me after, you know, I didn't realise this is what you go through, I didn't realise this is what women go through, and not just women.
No.
But then some of the conversations afterwards were really eye-opening in terms of, you know, we spoke about how the patriarchy hurts men as well. And it does. And men are literally conditioned by society to, you know, they've got to be strong, they can't show their feelings, they, you know, I think there was one talk I was listening to a few days ago, and he said when men are asked if they would rather be known as having a short fuse or known to be vulnerable, men will always choose to be known as having a short fuse because we are conditioned, that men are conditioned to I feel like I'm like mansplaining to you. I'm sure you know this already.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about how you feel.
I know, exactly. But yeah, and so we really want to sort of like open the conversation up to try to make male allies as well, and you know, help open up the conversation so it's, you know, the manosphere and all of those bits and bobs that we're seeing and all, you know, how men are conditioned, that does directly lead to increased levels of domestic violence, but it also hurts men. And then, you know, it's like suicide is the biggest killer of men under 45. It's heartbreaking. Yeah. So that's sort of like one branch of where we're taking things now. We can, if you take a step back and, like, you know, we're women's rights activists and campaigners, and we know we're very intersectional, we include all women, and, you know, we want to champion those voices that are, you know, less heard and less, you know, the marginalised communities as well. But we know that the patriarchy does affect everybody. It's not just women, it's not just trans people, it's not just marginalised communities, it's men too. And if you do take a step back of, like, you know, just campaigning for women's rights, you can see the links and you can see the pattern and how, you know, there's a whole narrative and rhetoric at the minute about how, you know, the loneliness epidemic and the manosphere and, you know, the likes of how Andrew Tate and co are, you know, making that toxic environment, and school children are, you know, becoming less acceptable of, you know, there's a more sexist environment now in schools, and teachers are reporting that, school students are reporting the same thing. Like, a lot of young people are saying, oh, feminism's gone too far. But actually feminism's not about just championing women's rights, it's about equality, and equality means everybody. Yeah. So if you look at the link as well of, like, the way that the different genders are socialised is completely different in so many ways. Not as much as it used to be, but it's still not the best. Like, boys are still told, like, don't cry, or, you know, they're still told that it's not okay to show your emotions, it's not okay to show your feelings. So then when they go into adults, mental health is a massive issue, and then
it's a lot of repressed feelings.
A whole lot of repressed feelings. And don't get me wrong, women are not taught any different in that sense of, I think we're just expected to be more emotional and more vulnerable and more open with our feelings, but I don't express my feelings all the time either. Like, I wasn't taught to express my feelings the same way as men weren't, but I think it's just in society in general, if I sit there and cry, nobody's going to frown at me for it. whereas if you did,
Yeah.
it's okay, you can.
Yeah.
But like that's the
what
thing.
you're saying there. But I wouldn't like to cry in public. That would
No,
be a
neither would I.
nightmare.
I'd hate
Yeah.
it. I'd hate it. But if I did, the way that I was looked at would be completely different to the way you was. And that's the whole conversation, isn't it? Is like these things are all fed down from patriarchy and from, you know, the more that men suppress the feelings, the more that they feel they need to take control. And again, we don't say it's not all men. We know that it's not all men. It's just that the experience of women is a very large experience, and like I'd say 99% of women have got some sort of experience with a man, and it might just be one man in 14 that's causing the problem, but that one man in 14 is then not convicted, not charged, not even pulled up for his actions. He makes jokes and things like that and everybody laughs at him, and then he's going around affecting 10 other women. So 10 women get affected even though it's only one man that's a problem. And that's the difference, is that it's technically not all men, but the way that things are, like if you're repressing feelings, they feel the need to control. If they're repressing feelings, they don't then humanise other people as much. They don't have this level of empathy, and that's where women they get dehumanised quite a lot, and that's where it all links up. And we want to make sure that like men's mental health is something we look at too, and we, expressing your emotions. I think therapy is the best thing for everybody should go once in life. Like it's the best thing in the world. And but a lot of men would be like, oh no.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I was sexually assaulted by my British born father when I was 12 years old, and there's never an excuse for that. There's no excuse for that. But can I also recognise the systemic drivers that led to that assault? His need to exert dominance and control, which is fundamental often in cases of sexual violence. He grew up in really, really, really like intense poverty. He grew up very, very uncomfortable with his emotions and his ability to express his emotions, and all of that just compounds on top and on top and on top. And yes, there are also men who have those experiences and they don't go on to sexually assault, and so it's important to recognise that distinction, but like it is also very, very crucial and important to recognise the systemic drivers of these things as well, because we're not gonna fix it unless we understand that and unless we have conversations about that. And
because I think sometimes, how the internet can be when people just shout over each other, and it can be like men are bad, and then sometimes some men can be put off that because they think, well, I'm not bad, I don't know anyone who has been like assaulted a woman, but this is not what you guys are saying at all, is it? No. It's what you're trying to do is unpick, like you said, the systematic issues that may lead to men like
committing violence. Yeah, because if you think about it as well, like there's men that don't commit sexual assaults or violence against women, and there's a lot of men that are, allies and understand why we say all men, and understand why we're saying, and why saying not all men is sometimes like, well, you're minimising our experiences by saying that, and that's why it's not okay. But still, there's a lot of men that are allies, but there's a lot of men that, like you say, that are just, they wouldn't ever dream of assaulting somebody or being violent towards anybody or anything like that. But like, I've had relationships where I was with them kind of men, and they were, really nice people. I'm not saying that they weren't, and they were absolutely lovely, and they're caring, and they do anything for anybody. But then they still had this socialisation where they didn't know how to express their feelings, and it caused problems in relationships. So because they didn't know how to talk about it, so they just shut down completely and bottle it up. And that's still something that, even if they don't ever want to be that person, like they don't ever dream of doing something bad towards somebody, it's still going to have an effect on their mental health and the way that they understand. Like, if you can't be open and honest with your partner, and that's the person that you're meant to be with and you're meant to trust the most in the world, and if you can't even open up and talk about your feelings with them, then there's a problem still. And, even those men that, are not assaulting people, are not attacking people, are not violent, they still need to be able to feel vulnerable. And even if it is just with one person, and that's not a bad thing, and that's sort of part of, their mental health can't be okay if they're I'm not saying everyone, obviously, not at all. It's case by case, isn't it? It's individual circumstances. But I can only imagine what it can be like to be in that scenario and empathise with them and think, oh my God, they must be really like hurting on the inside if they can't even open up with the person they trust the most. Yeah. So,
and we need male allies.
Yeah.
To call it out as well. That is such a crucial. I think that's going to be a really crucial sort of like pivotal moment in what we're trying to do is, you know, when we can get male allies to speak up in their workplaces, speak up in their community, speak up with their friends and say, actually, no, that's not okay, you know, and to counter the horrific rhetoric that we're seeing now where they're weaponizing our experiences of gender-based violence, sexual violence, domestic violence. And it is so deeply offensive that they're taking our stories and they're using it to hurt some of the most already marginalised communities.
The most traumatised communities. And we really, really need people to just start speaking up and calling it out and calling it for what it is. And it's always easier to stay silent. Always is. And I'm not going to sit here and say there have been times when I've not spoken up and I've not used my privilege, and I've worked on it as I've gotten older, and I wherever possible I really, really tried to use, you know, just be an ally. But it's hard. It's really hard. But we have to do it. We've got to do it. You know. Yeah, we're not saying like speaking up means going to protests or going like, great, if you want to come and be an activist, we will take everybody and anybody because like it's fantastic and we want more people to like join us. But even when we did like the Stand Up to Racism rally in Altrincham like a few weeks ago, there was loads of people that didn't come to the rally and didn't come to the march afterwards, but they stood outside shops and clapped us on and they cheered for what we were doing. So these people are speaking up in small ways. Mm-hmm. That's all that's needed. And then they're probably having conversations with their loved ones and the work colleagues and the friends and challenging that when they're, you know, saying things that they've heard in the media, because it's a bit like brainwashing, isn't it? And it's not, obviously, but it is in a lot of ways, where there's so much in the media and it's all that you ever see and it's all that you ever read that you struggle then to think critically, because, well, if it's everywhere it must be true, but obviously we know that it's not. So even like my own family, I've spoken to them many, many times and they're not racist or transphobic or hateful in any way, but they still have them little bits where they go, oh, but da-da-da, and because they've seen it in the news, and I'm like, hang on. But these people that are coming out clapping for us when we're doing marches and clapping for Stand Up to Racism are the people that will then be challenging their friends and family when they get home and having the conversations, and that's important. If it reaches one person, it's better than reaching nobody, isn't it? And like,
well, as long as for all the work that you put in, I think as long as it's influenced just one person,
100%.
You've pushed the needle. You've done something, which is positive. But I would say that I think I've talked to a few people about the work that you're doing, and what you're doing is saying a lot of things that people are feeling, and they do want to know, and I think you do have support. And when people like from marginalised communities, they struggle to speak out, but you guys are doing it, and I think like while you're pushing against the media narrative, you know, people are wanting to hear stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been when I spoke at the recent Altrincham rally organised by Stand Up to Racism, and I shared my video on Facebook, and I got accused of wielding my story and essentially weaponising my story. And you know what? Damn right, I'm wielding my story. Absolutely, I'm wielding my story. Like, you know, I don't find it easy to share. It's never easy to share. But if I can use what I've been through to try and make the world a better place and try and counter what people are saying, like, yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, we say it a lot as well, and I think I've said it a few times, but privilege is a responsibility, not an entitlement. And we should use it as a responsibility. We should use it to give people voices and uplift others. We shouldn't be using it to hate at all. And that's one thing that, like, you know, we've had it a lot, haven't we, where our campaign it's triggering, and we know it's triggering, and we know that like a lot of people are going to struggle and, you know, But there's so many people out there that haven't had justice for what they've been through, and there's so many people there that do want to share their stories and don't feel comfortable doing it because for whatever reason it's a member of the family or it's a friend or it's something that they've never told anybody before. And we've had a lot of messages, haven't we? I think that's the most empowering thing that we've so far, like, irregardless of all the success or, you know, wherever we're going with it and the support that we've got, it's the people that are reaching out to us that are not confident to share their stories, but they know that they can tell us and share it anonymously and we can post it for them, and that empowers them. Yeah, and definitely gives them, you know, they're so brave even just for telling us, like for telling one person, 2 people, or, you know, 3 with Stacey as well, but like if it, like one person sees it on the Instagram messages, that's brave, that's incredibly brave. But then they're also saying, please can you share this on your page where you've got nearly 400 followers now, and we get quite a good traction on posts as well, and they know that like some of our posts got 20,000 views this last week, so they know that this is going out to the masses, and they say, please can you share this? I want it to be anonymous because it's not safe or comfortable for me to do it by myself, you know, not anonymously. The opposite of anonymous. But we can share it for them. We can just put their initial on it. We can give them a pseudonym name or whatever they need us to do to make them feel safe. And that's incredibly powerful, incredibly brave, and it's so empowering for us, isn't it? It's like,
just the most
wow,
beautiful,
we're giving people a voice.
Vulnerable, majestic.
It's incredible. Like it's heartbreaking that there's so many people coming forward. Absolutely heartbreaking. Like we wish that wasn't the world that we was living in. But it's awe-inspiring. Absolutely, that these people are being brave enough and wanting us to share their stories for them, and it's putting more things out in the world where victims might feel more confident, and, you know, sharing stories gives the people that don't feel like they have a voice more opportunity to go, hang on a minute, maybe I could speak, maybe I could share something, maybe I could go to the police, you know, try and get justice, anything that you know helps them. But also it pushes, a lot of them are shared as well, that like how this campaign with Someone I Knew campaign is like, we know that it's not migrants, we know that it's not trans people, we want to be part of this, we want to get involved, we want to like do anything we can to help the campaign succeed. So they've been putting in the stories like the nature of the person that attacked them. So they've been putting like that they were a cis white man and they were British born or Scottish born or wherever they came from, to show that, like, you know, the problem is not, it doesn't matter your race or your creed at all. It's generally men, but also it's, you know, I think when we looked at the statistics, it was like 76%, wasn't it, in 2024 was British nationals that was, you know, charged with an offence, a sexual offence. So and then the other 24%, is that the right maths? 24% was any other nationality or unknown nationalities. So it's not refugees or migrants either, because, well, you know, it's not refugees in that sense, it's anybody from all over the world. So it includes like America, Germany, France, Spain, you know, European countries, generally white sort of majority places, as well as everywhere else in the world, and that's 24%. So it's nothing compared to the 76% of British nationals. And it sort of feels like these people that are trying to champion women's safety, who are pushing it for a racist agenda, let's be frank.
Well, I think your work, it exposes the contradiction of this rhetoric that
100%.
has been pushed so much throughout the summer.
And there's no what the far right is saying isn't just, it's like completely unfounded. It's not based in facts whatsoever, and it's like there is no evidence, there's no evidence to suggest that increased migrant populations lead to increased crime statistics. And it's just, you know, we've as women survivors, female women, and including trans women, including trans women in that demographic too, we have been told our whole lives to keep our experiences quiet and under the radar and hold it close to our chest. It's like the shame of it. And then all of a sudden we're seeing these men on the far right using our experiences that they've told us to stay quiet about. Now all of a sudden they're blasting it on the airwaves and saying that, you know, it's trans people are a threat and refugees are a threat. It's like reclaiming that as well. It's reclaiming that narrative and stepping out of the shame and using our voices to counter that, because these things thrive in secrecy and they only get worse in secrecy. And that's partly why, you know, our assailants are able to get away with what they get away with.
100%.
So it's like...
Well, like literally the London...
United the Kingdom. Is this?
Yeah, the Tommy Stephen Yaxley...
Lennon, yeah.
That douchebag. Like, there's no better way. Like, I could have said a lot worse.
I know, it's another way I'm thinking of.
Could have said a lot worse. I mean, he was literally stopped going into countries not long ago because of how bad he is. So that doesn't say things. But they were literally chanting, "Get your tits out," to a woman photographer, a videographer. You know, they were literally chanting that. That's not women's safety. That's encouraging men to be discriminatory. Then also there was a woman that tried to speak, and she was given a microphone for less than 10 seconds. And when she started saying, "Yeah, it was a British man, and you guys are all disgusting for chanting what you're doing," they dragged her off the stage.
Yeah,
like,
I'm not surprised.
Like, so how are you championing women's safety, but then dragging people away that have got a story? And it's not because you care about women's safety, it's because you're entitled. Like, they're your women to assault. That's the sort of feeling it feels like right now to us.
Protect our women
Protect
and children.
our women,
It's like,
so we can
we
assault
don't belong
them.
to you.
Yeah, like, sorry, but what? Like,
Yeah.
no, we shouldn't be getting assaulted. There should be no violence against us whatsoever.
Yeah.
But you're not championing women's safety when 2 out of 5 of you have got domestic violence convictions.
Yeah.
Like, there was a guy in, I can't remember where it was, but he was literally a convicted paedophile. How are you championing the safety of women and children when you are the threat? And it feels a bit like, as a woman, like, we can assault you, but they can't.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Protect our women and children as well. It's like our women and children. Our women are trans women. The trans women are part of our working class community. Refugee and migrant women, they are our women.
Yeah.
So it's using that term to other people as well, which is just outrageous.
Yeah, I'd never thought of it like that, but... Yeah.
No, it's definitely an entitlement, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's pushing a racist agenda. Then you know, there's more flags going up everywhere, and
Yeah.
it enrages you. Like, you have to remember to protect your peace, because otherwise you'd be angry all the time.
Well, we call it, in some of the work that we've been doing, politics of grievance.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, we can all agree on, or I say we, but within a group, can everyone there can agree on the people that they don't, or things that they don't like, but not rather on things that they do like and things that they want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think now I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Has anyone from that kind of right-wing sphere been in touch with you guys to ever hear about your stories or the stories of people that you've spoke to?
No.
Not one of them.
So I think that goes to show.
We've been in touch with. Did we message them in the end, or we've debated it?
I think we debated it
because there's an Instagram page that's quite big. What are the women's safety?
I think it's something like that.
Yeah,
they've got like a little purple.
Yeah, and
not that I'm plugging them in.
No.
Anyway, by the way,
don't check them out.
Don't.
But they are.
I checked them out once on my Instagram. It's flooded with like far right stuff, and I'm like, I built this algorithm brick by brick.
Yeah, literally. Like, don't look at them; they're not worth it. But they are women's safety campaigners that are also. Yeah, they're not. They're linked with like Stephen Yaxley Lennon and that far right narrative, and they're very much like. They go to their protests, don't they? I think they tried to do like a women's block on the other side as well, didn't they? And
I think they're trying to do sort of like educational outreach as well, and picking and cherry picking statistics.
Very much cherry picked.
Which
Yeah, very, very much. Like some of the things that we've seen them push is about like migrants being the problem, which we know is not true, because it doesn't take 10 minutes to Google these things. The National Office for Statistics is sometimes a bit of a minefield when you go down there, but there's also other websites that break that down for you, and you can see the resources and you can verify it all. It doesn't take long to have a little bit of critical thought. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that, like, everybody's like, oh, well, you know, critical thinking is something you learn at school and da-da-da-da. It's not. Critical thinking is something that you use in everyday life. When you're thinking, oh, should I go that way instead of that way, which way would be quicker? It's part of critical thought of going and, like, assessing the situation. It's the same for the media. It's the same for looking at, you know, the news and the statistics. You can look at it all you want, but then you go, something don't feel right about that. Or should I believe everything that I read? Should I do a quick Google search? Do you know what I mean? It's that
and it's so
difference,
easy
isn't it?
now,
It's
isn't
very,
it?
yeah.
We've got technology at the tip of our fingers. It's like there's...
The internet's biased, it is.
Yeah.
But...
So have you had dialogue with the other side, so to speak?
Apart from the nice men that like to vlog on YouTube with their GoPros. I mean, they're not nice men.
No,
we
they're
haven't.
horrible.
They're horrible.
They're abusive.
Awful.
They're horrible, yeah.
Eddie, what's he called? English Ned?
Yeah, I've seen him there, yeah.
I'd love to know his full name. His Facebook's quite public and it shows who his fiancée is. He's a 40-plus-year-old man. His fiancée looks about 12. She's probably not. She's probably 18 plus, so she's legal. But again, it's that power dynamic, isn't it, of an older man with a younger woman, and she's very young. That's the only interaction we've ever had with any of them, is when they're coming down to marches and protests, and I don't know what the rest of them are called. They're probably very insignificant. And it's all very insecure men that think, like, let's, you know, you can, not to slate them, but you can tell that people that are the most confident and the most loud and the most charming, and, you know, we say this a lot, don't we? We've had this discussion a lot. But these people generally, when they're like that and they're like putting themselves in front, and yeah, there's being an extrovert and there's being over the top.
Yeah,
and they're the ones that generally, it's because they're so insecure and they're trying to hide that fact from the public.
Yeah.
They're trying to make themselves look like what they think the public expects of them.
It's an ego trip, isn't it?
It's
a
very
massive
much, yeah,
ego trip.
very much so. But they're the people that, you know, they want to have some element of control because they don't feel like they're in control of their own life. And, you know...
Yeah, I agree, but part of my concern now as well is that they're getting financially rewarded for the behaviour too. But
that's my concern too, because
yeah.
we were saying this, weren't we, about how did so many people manage to get to London when we struggle on our side to get everybody down somewhere because of the funding, because of like getting everybody on coaches, because of like it's just not affordable to go to everything. Like, even I work full time and I've got a good job, but I can't afford to go to London and pay £25 plus for coach tickets and stuff like that every time we go. And I'll go to ones that I can get to, but generally it's really difficult. And like, same with like even going to ones in Manchester, it's like, well, I could go, but then I'd have to spend this on the travel and I'd have to do this, that and the other, and it's like, it's really hard. So how are the people that...
They're organised, aren't they?
Well,
yeah, we need
when
to
you
be
get Elon
organised
Musk
as well.
on the
I think,
screen,
I think
live
the
stream
YouTube people as well are probably funding some of it because they'll be earning money off the stream.
Yeah. So we need to match and surpass their organisation.
That's it. We need to be viral.
Yeah.
Make this podcast viral, and then we can fund all of the coaches. You can cut that out if you want.
No, we've definitely been invited.
We champion this podcast. It's fantastic.
Thanks. So, I was thinking about this podcast from kind of a male's perspective, as I would, and one thing that I'm not sure whether you guys have watched, but it's stuck with me and I think in the national conscience a lot, is adolescence.
Yes.
And you see the young men and how they get exposed to the rhetoric, and like you mentioned earlier, the Andrew Tates of the world. If you had a message to say to, for example, say this, I can clip this up and it can come up on TikTok, and you could just give a quick message to a young man who may be falling down this kind of road, what would you say to them?
It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to speak to people and go out more, speak to people, be more involved in humanity, be more involved with your friends and your family. Not everything is online, and getting stuck in the online world damages your mental health. It really does.
Yeah, like, you know, you're a human being.
Go and touch grass.
We're all human beings, and we all have feelings, we all have emotions, and they're complicated and they're messy, and that's okay. And, you know, anybody that tries to make you feel small for having feelings and being emotional really just is not worth the time or day.
No.
And, you know, we're only going to get better, and men and boys are only going to start feeling better once we sort of like, you know, I do think that feminism needs to have more conversations about men's mental health, because it's going to help everybody. It's going to help everyone. And I don't think we've gone anywhere near far enough with these kind of conversations. And, you know, I think we need to get into a place where men and boys can reach out to their friends and they can talk about what they're going through, and that's okay. And we're all people and we all need other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really great messages.
Yeah.
Because when you guys say stuff like that, it seems obvious to me that it's all linked in.
Yeah.
Like, men need women and women need men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we've addressed or spoke to young men, what would be your message to young women or women in general who may be coming across you watching this podcast and not been aware of you? So they've just become aware of this movement for the first time. What would be your message to them?
I suppose it depends if, you know, we always signpost if we're reaching women who have had experiences of sexual violence or domestic violence. We've got, every time we share a story on Instagram, we've got a list. Obviously, we can't offer direct support, but we are like linking in with other organisations, signposting to other organisations that can. So please reach out to them, because that's what they're there for. I've called Samaritans several times in my life, and they've been amazing. You know, in the complete lack of mental health services in everywhere, it's
the
hard.
UK is bad at the minute for it, really bad, and they're cutting for funding as well. And you know, just last week I got an email from I've got ADHD, so I'm on medication. I'm partnered with, I'm under the care of clinical partners, and just last week I got an email to say that their funding's been cut from the council.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So they can't take on any new patients right now until the next financial year, and that's in April. So it's 6 months away. There's lots of people that were on that waiting list that are now not getting the support they need for ADHD.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine if that's happening with an ADHD service, it's probably happening to a lot of mental health services.
Yeah.
Well, I did cover a bit of people with long-term mental health issues in Manchester and who get no help at all now.
Literally nothing.
So yeah, it's shocking. And
also, can I just add a little bit at the end, because that I just thought of, because I'm thinking about my own experience and what has helped me. You know, if you have been a victim or a survivor of domestic violence and sexual assault, like it's never your fault.
No,
it's
never.
never your fault.
Never,
I was told
your fault.
I was asking for it. I was told that I had led my father to believe that I wanted to be sexually assaulted. And I always thought that I hadn't internalised that, because rationally I knew that was nonsense. But internally, especially when your family is telling, you know, someone in your family is telling you that, you carry a lot of shame and a lot of stigma. Like, it is 100%. Not your fault. And it's also not something, you know, if you want to talk about it, you talk about it. You're not trauma dumping. You're not like being you're not oversharing. Like, we need to move away from that. Like, that's nonsense. Like, you know, we as friends and as loved ones, we should be there for our friends and loved ones. If they want to share and they want to talk about this stuff, like, talk, you know, like, there's no shame in it.
Yeah,
like, please, I want to be there. I want to be there for my friends, you know.
Look, how many times do we have conversations and we're like, oh, sorry, I'm rambling, and the other one goes, stop apologising. Like, it's okay. Like, if you need to get it out, get it out.
I've had conversations like that with men.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. You know, how are you doing? Great. Well,
how are you actually doing now?
Yeah.
How are you really doing? Yeah, that exactly for men that are listening as well. Like, have those conversations with your friends. If you've got female friends, start with them if you're more comfortable. I know there's lots and lots of men that have female friends that they go specifically to them to have them emotional conversations because they feel more comfortable. But that's a start. That's better than nothing. That's getting your emotions out. That's also then helping you understand where we're coming from, because then you have that level of empathy, like talking about emotions and dealing with your trauma. And even if it is just having a conversation with somebody, allows you to empathise, allows you to think about how other people are feeling. And that's what's lacking in the world right now, is empathy. It seems to have just disappeared, like, overnight.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, we would be having these conversations, but not to this scale.
No.
Not to the scale of, like, you know, adolescence, for example.
Yeah.
That wasn't as bad. You know, we've always had issues with violence against women, and statistically it's not changed over I think 50 years.
It made me a bit sad. The response to adolescence was like, you know, obviously social media is a very, very double-edged sword, but the general consensus from that seemed to be like, social media is bad, don't let your kids on social media. It's like, oh no, let's not talk about the patriarchy or all the things that are really sourcing all the manosphere. And it's like, it's all these systemic issues that are causing.
Yeah, like I work in technology, so it's something that I deal with day to day is how technology works and stuff. So the algorithm is set up, and it's probably not the best, but it's basically AI, and it's learning from what it can feed from, and it's learning behaviors. So like the more we feed into the internet, the more it learns. And if the internet's already biased because the world is biased because of the patriarchy, then the AI is going to be the same, the algorithms are going to be the same. So they did a test, didn't they, on, I can't remember, it was another podcast somewhere, but they did a test where they signed up as a 14-year-old boy on Instagram, and within they didn't like anything, they didn't interact with anything. Within 15 minutes we're getting Andrew Tate style content.
Stop the boats and things like that.
But again, the algorithm is it's wrong, it's broken, but it's right. I'm not justifying at all, because I don't agree with a lot of the way that, we know that like Mark Zuckerberg and things are now involved with Trump, for example. But like it's broken because it's looking and going, okay, what do normal 14-year-old boys want to look at? What is on the internet already? What can I find? Okay, we'll push that.
Yeah.
Because that's what statistically is being interacted with. Yeah. But the more that they interact with it, the more it's going to push it. But then they don't have the opportunity to interact with anything else because that's all they see.
Yeah. And it props up the society that we live in as well, doesn't it? It props up the patriarchal capitalist society that we live in. And so the powers that be and the people that are running these big tech corporations, the billionaires, they want to stay in power. They want the things that are going to keep the masses on a leash and thinking and believing all the right things. So
someone I knew is very much Rage Against the Machine.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yes.
Did you know? Called it.
Did you know Meta's being sued in like something like 30 or more states in the US?
Yeah.
So it's social media and big tech is a problem. I'm not saying it's not, but it's a systemically driven issue.
The system's broken, isn't it? The system's not broken. It was never right in the first place. It's the system is working exactly how they wanted it to work from a capitalist perspective. Because the more that they divide us, the more that they create, animosity, and they can push things that make people happy so they buy more, and then they can also keep themselves in power because nobody knows who to vote for and nobody knows how to be a democratic society because they're all divided. Mm-hmm. We're not working together. So someone I knew is trying to create more unity, because the people that are affected is not just women, it's not just trans people, it's not just people of colour, it's not just refugees, it's not just men, it's not just working class, it's all of us. We're all having the same systemic problems, and the system is a patriarchy that's capitalist at its core.
So, to end on a positive note, you guys get dealt the perfect hand for the future, and someone I knew can go to exactly where you want it to be. What does that look like? Where is a point where you can kind of shake hands with one another and think we've achieved everything that we've achieved here?
Can I jump in? Okay. I think when we are, how do I phrase this right? So you might have to clip my mumblings out. I know what I want to say, but I'm not sure how I want to phrase it. When the most disenfranchised, marginalised, most vulnerable member of our community is fully supported and safe and well.
Not oppressed, not discriminated against, not facing injustice. And it's not just for, like, we're in the UK, so obviously a lot of our stuff is UK based, but globally it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, there's girls in Afghanistan and women in Afghanistan that are being silenced, and they can't go to school anymore, and they can't work anymore, and they can't even speak to each other. And again, it's silencing people. That's what we want to get away from. We want to, you know, it's not just Afghanistan, but that was just, you know, a big example of how
extreme regression.
And we're not in that. We're very lucky. Like, that's the thing, isn't it? The difference between us and people in Afghanistan and refugees is luck. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Because we were born in the right place at the right time, and that's what we want, is like a world. It might not be in our lifetimes, it might be the next generation or the generation after. Obviously, fingers crossed it's in our lifetimes. I'd quite like to see it. But like a world where everybody is free to just be who they want to be and be who they are at their core, and there's no discrimination or oppression. And that might be, you know,
adequate access to mental health services, adequate access to healthcare, equal, you know, equal and adequate
equal
access to healthcare.
Even just
shelter.
A world where we're not scared to have a partner.
Yeah.
Because it's like the whole, we like have a rule, don't we? Like, oh, don't fall in love in the first 3 months because they might change. They might be a different person.
Where do you draw the line with that? 'Cause it could be 2 years down the line.
Could be, yeah, and like
change. But.
Yeah, and like like you shouldn't really be going into a relationship worrying that 3 months, 6 months, 10 months down the line,
isn't it, to start a relationship?
Awful. Like, you're always on the offence, defence, and you're
just
always
wait for it to go wrong, aren't you?
You're always thinking, is this normal? Is this okay? Like, I don't know, because the last person I was with was absolutely terrible, so now I don't know what normal looks like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
I do.
Yeah.
But I think we, as much as I'd love to talk to you guys all day, and maybe perhaps like maybe 6 months' time we can catch up and we can say,
that'd be amazing.
See how far. And
we'll just put, my hair will be like sticking up in all different, I'll like shopping bags under my, it's going really well, I swear.
No, we love
the world's so much a better place.
It's really good, it's really exciting.
And I think what you guys are doing, it's giving people hope.
Yeah.
And by you doing what you're doing, you've clearly not given up. And I know some people, and it's easy to give up, but you're out there and you're fighting the good fight.
Yeah,
so. That's the hope, isn't it? We've you know, there's only so much sitting at home and reading the news and seeing what's going on in the world that you can do before you go, I need to do something.
Take matters into your own hands.
Yeah, because the anger, it bubbles otherwise. So at least doing something it's good outlet. It's
worth saying I live in North Wales, so it's very, very isolated. It's very rural. Like, as in isolated from the more collective action that we're seeing elsewhere. I don't know if this is uplifting or kind of like depressing, I'm not sure, but I want to say it anyway. I've been campaigning for 10 years in North Wales. It's been a long 10 years, and it's mostly been me being a gobshite, and I'm like, I feel like my friends know me very well now, like my Facebook acquaintances are like, oh, it's just Dinah popping off again, like, whatever. But like, it takes a long time, it takes a lot of building, it takes a lot of networking, but like it will happen if you don't give up and have those hard, difficult conversations. Hopefully they're not always hard and difficult, but like, work in your community and be active. Don't give up. Stand by what you believe in, 100%. And it will happen.
Like, your gut feeling's always right, and now's the best time to get into anything. If you're gonna do it now.
Do it now.
Because now's the time that we need to be united and we need to be together. But also, if you're sat there thinking, I'm really angry at the world, and oh my God, how can this happen, and you don't know where to go and where to make a positive change, definitely get involved. If you're in a union, get involved with your union. If you have a local stand up to racism group, if you have a local intersectional uprising group, if you have anything like that, find them on social media. Everybody's got social media these days. Find them, reach out. If you don't want to do anything at all and want to start by yourself, do it. Set up an email address, start emailing companies, do a bit of research. It's difficult, but it's worth it, and it's a really good outlet, and it's really good channeling that sort of to get the right people on the right side. And you know, if silence is violence, isn't it, at the end of the day?
And I think as well, from my point of view, people may feel disenfranchised with politicians, that they're not working for them.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you get politicians to sit up and take notice through grassroots organisations that have like strong support.
No, not the working class becoming self-aware.
Well,
exactly.
You know, one of the governors of Palestine? I'm not entirely sure. I always get a little bit mixed up sometimes with things like this, but they thanked the global like activists that have been standing for Palestine and campaigning week in, week out, and marching and protesting week in, week out to get the politicians to notice that Palestine was going through a genocide.
Yeah.
And they've literally thanked that action because, you know, action works, activism works, and, you know, women's rights, we didn't get the votes until people started going out marching, and, you know, suffragettes were obviously a little bit extreme in some of the things that they did, but it worked. And then it then built the pathways for other marginalised groups to start getting votes as well. And, you know,
I mean, working class people didn't have the vote, didn't
no.
they? Until people on the grassroots started.
Literally,
every right almost
people
that
were
we
on
have is
little
because...
boxes standing up with newspapers every week.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So if you're watching or listening to this is how it starts.
Yeah.
This is really where to get involved in, and well, guys, I think I will have to.
We've been here a while. We can't talk.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem. Well, thank you guys for coming on and chatting.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's been really great.
Yeah, great. And for anyone interested with the work that these guys are doing, someone I knew, I'll attach the links to all the relevant pages in the description to the video. So please do follow that through. And if you've enjoyed the content today and want to support this independent journalism from Manchester, please do like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
It's in the corner somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's in one of those corners.
The links are below.
Yeah, there you go. And also, if you guys... Yeah, so thank you for watching and listening as always. And call it there.
Thank you.
Thank you.